My name is Sam Hudis. I am a partner at a data firm called Competitive Advantage Research in New York. It's really wonderful to be here. I have had the privilege to find myself here in Budapest a few times, even earlier this year, but it's always nice to be here. So what I want to tell you a bit about is the state of open data in New York and how this data is presented, how it's been collected, the legal mechanisms behind the creation of our open data portal, and also a few examples of how it's actually been used, which is to say, what's actually the point of open data? Why do we create these portals? What is the output? And so the theme here is open data, data strategy, data regulation, and most importantly, a culture of openness in municipalities. So first of all, in New York, we have what we call the New York City Open Data Portal. You can see the URL, opendata.cityofnewyork.us. This is a single portal that was set up by the city that is contributed to by all agencies of the city, and they host there over 1,200 data sets. These are data sets ranging from, the largest one I believe is the what we call 311 requests. These are, if you know the United States, you know 911 is like the emergency phone number. 311 would be like the non-emergency number. So if you have noise complaints, if you have a complaint about a pothole in the road, if you have a request for the trash cans to be emptied, or for a new tree to be planted on your street, you would call here. And when you make a request there, that data is recorded, and you can go on this open data portal and you can find every 311 request that has been made going back, I believe, to 2010. So it's I think 2 million lines of data, 2 million requests. And they're all geocoded as well. That's one example. You can also find essentially the 911 requests. Those are people complaining about crimes, arrest records. You can find the data set of building permits, building construction permits, building demolition permits, all of the film permits that have been issued in the city, all of the taxi licenses, the civil service personnel records, which is one of the most interesting ones from a privacy perspective. I'm not sure if you would be able to do that in Europe, but you can go on this open data portal and you can see the names and also the salary of every employee in the city of New York, the public employees who work for the municipality, and see exactly how much money they make. And of course, COVID daily infection counts. I think that's probably been, over the last 2 years, the premier standard example of open data all over the world, that every city, every country is publishing this on a daily basis. So I have the image here of what this open data portal looks like. They even give you a prompt. You can search 311 buildings, trees, etc. And then here's what it looks like. So you have a list of data sets, and you can see on the first one here, you can see when this data set was last updated. You can also see how many views it has. This is actually ordered in the order of the most popular data sets on this site. The top one is job application filings at the Department of Buildings, which has been viewed over 2 million times. You have the civil service list, the taxi drivers, the taxi license list, and so on. And if you go into one of these data sets, and they all look like this, you have the second image over here. So this is an example of these 311 complaints that I was telling you about. You can see every complaint or request, there's a date for it, the agency that is responsible, so DOT would be the Department of Transportation, NYPD would be the police department. You have the agency name, the type of complaint. Sometimes people are complaining about abandoned vehicles, or they're complaining that there's a pothole in the street, or a noise complaint, or someone parking illegally and blocking the sidewalk. And then you can also see the location, including the address. And so this allows you actually to use this data, and you could even plot it up on a map. Or you could track, where are there more complaints, where are there fewer complaints. So what's the point of this? Why do we care about open data? Open data allows for transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption. If municipalities are publishing this data, it means that they're not keeping secrets, that they are accountable to the public. It allows for better analysis of issues in the city or in the country, or whatever your unit is that you're dealing with. It allows the public actually to be a contributor in the government of the city. I also want to point out it allows different agencies within municipal government to better understand each other. I have colleagues in city government in New York, and when they, for example, when someone in one department wants to know where most of the filming is happening in New York, they don't have to make a request to some other agency and go through red tape. They go on the open data portal. So the government itself is also a major user of open data. And finally, this allows public interaction with data. The mayor this morning said, you know, it's not just about data, it's not just about government, it's about people and what people can do. So I have two examples here. On the top, this is a project called Context Explorer. This is something that was made at private initiative based on this open data portal, and it shows the zoning regulations for every city block in New York City. So, for example, highlighted here would be the commercial buildings. And what this allows people to do is, if you're a developer, if you're looking for a location for your business, then you can go here and see which areas of the city are regulated to allow businesses and which areas are residential businesses. By the way, the address I have here, 223 East 52nd Street, is not a random address. This is actually the consulate of Hungary in New York. So you can look up any address here and see what the zoning regulations are. You can see where the transportation lines are, and this obviously helps make the city more business friendly. That potential investors, potential developers can find all of this information easily. The second example I have up here is a map of all of the car crashes in New York City. This is just 1 month of data, actually. This is September 2022. So obviously we have standard municipal issues, traffic safety and the like, and when you publish this data and make it available to the public, they're also able to visualize it, they're also able to analyze it, and hopefully that creates a feedback cycle back into government that allows government to make changes on our streets to address these kinds of issues. I think this is maybe a more American thing. Streets in Europe, I hope, are safer than this because, yeah, this is only 1 month of data. What makes open data more usable? What are some best practices? The first, I would say, using the example from New York, is public outreach. So in New York, there is an open data mailing list. You can go on the open data portal and sign up for this mailing list, and they let you know when new data sets are added. They let you know about events. They also do a lot of events just like this one. They have an open data week that they do every year, which is a celebration of all of the projects that civil society and private people make with this data. And they present a lot of them. Actually, in the previous example, those two projects both were private projects, but then are presented on the open data portal as an example that the city uses to highlight what people are doing with this. They also solicit more projects like this all the time. We have city councilors who host open data events to try to raise awareness of the fact that this portal exists and to encourage people to use it. Another thing certainly is to have a single access point for all data. And I will talk about that a bit more next. That does not come naturally because, of course, municipalities have all sorts of different departments. And I think one of the biggest challenges in open data actually is to get them to all use a single portal like this, where you don't have your Department of Transportation on one site, you have your Department of Buildings on another site. Having one point of access is important. That point of access also ought to have a user-friendly interface. The New York City Open Data Portal, I think, does this very well. You have, as you saw, direct views of data. You can see directly what the schema is, which is to say what all the columns are in the data. You don't have to download the file and then open it up. You can browse all of this on the web. Not only can you browse all this on the web, the Open Data Portal also offers tutorials. You have here an example pulled from the Open Data Portal, how to get started with open data. They teach you how to apply a filter to select some of the data and not others. They teach you, for example, how to create a map with the 311 data, because latitude and longitude would be two of the columns there. And they also offer multiple download formats. And this is perhaps technical. I'm not sure how technical our crowd is here. But I will tell you, as someone who works professionally and technically with a lot of this data, it is a huge help that you can download the data in a CSV format, comma-separated values. You can download the data in Excel format. You can download it in XML. And not only that, you can also download the data automatically. And this is what allows you to create applications with this data, automatic applications that are downloading this data every day and refreshing it, that they have an API portal, an API endpoint, I should say. So you can write computer code that pings this endpoint and downloads it every day. And the Open Data Portal facilitates that, even provides documentation for web developers to do this. So what makes open data difficult? What are some of the challenges here? As I mentioned, it took us a bit of time to actually get to this point here. So we had our open data law that was passed in New York in 2012, and the law passed by the City Council mandated that by 2018 the city should have this single open data portal. That didn't exactly happen, I should say, not by 2018, because it was only this year that the New York City Office of Technology, what they call the Office of Technology and Innovation, was created. And this was a merger of several different departments. There was the Department of Information Technology and Communications. These were the managers of the Open Data Portal previously. There was the Chief Technology Officer. There was the Cyber Command, which is dealing with defending the city from cyber attacks, which continues, unfortunately, to be very relevant today in our geopolitical situation. There was the Office of Data Analytics, the Office of Information Privacy, the Algorithms Management and Policy Officer. I think this is probably common for municipalities anywhere that you have what we call in English the alphabet soup of different agencies. And getting them all to consolidate, getting government to be efficient and streamlined is not always a straightforward or quick process. So even in New York City, we actually missed the deadline by 4 years to have this single portal. The other issue, of course, is twin issues, I would say. Privacy, which is maybe the good kind of privacy, and then what I call institutional resistance to transparency, which is the bad kind of privacy. So I have this example here. This is another thing that you can do with open data, and this is some of my own work here, mapping misconduct complaints against the police department. So this is, according to Precinct in New York City, how many official complaints have been generated by members of the public saying that the police abused them or mistreated them. And so, you can see, for example, that there's inequality in the city. You can see also, I think from a police department perspective, this is highly embarrassing. And so perhaps it won't surprise you to know that in New York City, the police department fought very strongly against releasing this data. This was only released 2 years ago. It's actually not on the Open Data Portal. It came about via a lawsuit that I was involved in. They held this up in court for months because naturally the police department and the trade union representing the police officers did not want this published. And I'm sure you can think of many examples of other data sets that even when it's something less directly embarrassing like this, if people want to hide their corruption, if people want to hide if you have municipal complaints and you can see that that the streets are getting worse. There are incentives that governments have to keep this data private, and that's always going to be a political challenge. But again, I want to make a pitch for open data. I want to encourage you to push for it. And if you're asking why invest in open data makes cities more efficient. Open data makes it easier for citizens to deal with the government. And open data really makes civil society into a partner in running the city. I'll say again, as the mayor said this morning, it's not just about data, it is about people. And when you provide open data, you see, as in some of these examples, that the public can actually interact with this data, the public can actually become a partner in government. The public can improve on what the city is publishing and what the city is analyzing. And then the city can then use this public information to take into consideration. So thank you very much, and I hope always that we can see more open data all over the world, including here in Budapest. And if you catch me during one of the breaks, I am very happy to answer any questions or offer any other examples. Thank you very much.